Hello and welcome to Up Dog Sports Talk. I am joined here today by our good friend Omar to talk about the Mountain West in 2025. Here at Up Dog, we love to talk about everybody in college football, and this is another part of that series. We've previewed four conferences previously, and now glad to look at the Mountain West here. Omar, introduce yourself to the people if they haven't caught you on our previous episode or any other podcasts.
Yeah, I've been following Updog for a while. Really enjoy like the work you guys put in. Honestly, like very diverse array of content. Like not just college, pro sports, and even not just like not pro football, not just football, but every sport in general. Like you guys cover, and it's great. The off season series has been amazing with like the games to watch and everything because there's been games you guys brought up that I forgot were even happening. Honestly, it's just so much to keep track of. But you can find me redshirtsports.xyz, just writing about FCS and a lot of stuff, and also for Hustle Belt this year, just covering UMass and just conference as a whole. I should have a season preview coming out soon for the UMass Minutemen, and then of course the Hardware Pod with my good friend Jackson Danner, which we do weekly just throughout the season, just looking at the Heisman race and everything. But yeah, really excited to talk about the Mountain West. Hopefully, it doesn't take an hour like the last one. You know, but um, but yeah, like I'm just really excited about it.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a weird year going into the Mountain West. This is kind of, as both of us, we both really like this conference a lot. Growing up watching it, love watching Mountain West at the dark and everything like that. And this year going into 2026 kind of feels like watching two of your best friends kind of getting divorced a little bit. It's kind of sad to see, and I hope it doesn't get ugly enough to the point where we don't see future games because like these programs, there's a lot of great rivalries in here that we're going to see get kind of split apart. We hope to continue to see those games happen, even if they aren't in the same conference anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like there's been programs on both sides that have continued to play and are keeping things cordial. Colorado State and Wyoming, thank goodness that one's continuing for the Bronze Boot. What an underrated rivalry, and also San Jose State, Fresno State. I mean, the Valley Trophy, one of the more unique trophies out there in college football. So that's continuing. But otherwise, like you said, it's just ugly. Like there's no reason these conferences could not have just merged. But man, I think everyone's just tired of litigation and Pac-12 Mountain West discourse. I know I am. I just hate it.
Yeah, I'm just I'm tired of it all, and this is why we kind of did this series. It's just to like talk about the stuff on the field. I know we're talking about this right now, but just to talk about what's going on the field because that's what we love about the sport. And we're getting very close to football, real football happening again, and we just need to enjoy what these teams do this year because it's just the sport has the longest off season out there just because of all the litigation and all the squabbling about different things that go on. So that being said, we'll go ahead and get started here. This is a little bit of chart for this one. We'll kind of start at the championship contenders tier here. Anything that sticks out to you or surprises you within the championship contenders?
I'm not surprised, really, and I'll tell you, I'm sure people would be surprised to see San Jose State there. But I think once you look at San Jose State's schedule, you'll see that they're essentially this year's Colorado State, a team that benefits from avoiding the top two teams in the league, Boise State and UNLV. San Jose State avoids not just UNLV, not just Boise State, but they also avoid Colorado State, which ended their small bowl drought last year and were great. But I'm excited about San Jose State because first off, I'm glad I don't have to root against Ken Niumatalolo, just an amazing coach and human being. I'm glad I get to root for him. And also too, it's like San Jose State, like 2020. My dad grew up my dad grew up in the Bay Area. My dad was born in Monterey, California. Anytime San Jose State, like, he grew up loving San Jose State. Anytime San Jose State was on TV in the late 2000s, like we would watch. Watching them blow the game in overtime against Hawaii back in 2007, and other moments like that. Like anytime Hawaii would play a power conference team on TV, like we would watch it. So I've seen the ups and downs of San Jose State football, and I mean a lot of people don't know this. They're one of my teams I like to root for and whatnot. I like to see do well. 2020 was magical. Like 2020, the stars aligned. I think this year the stars can align just as well because you have a veteran quarterback. You have Walker Eget, which I mean, when Emmett Brown got hurt last year, I thought San Jose State was in trouble. But I was really impressed with some of the performances that Eget put out that like the past year, especially the Boise State game and the come from behind victory against Stanford. Talk about getting a monkey off your back if you're San Jose State. I think this team is special this year. I think they have good continuity. They have amazing leadership in Ken Niumatalolo. The scheme is unique. I nerded out last time we recorded about the Rice scheme. I like the San Jose State scheme because it shows people the a lot like not many people know that the run and shoot and the flex one are related schemes. Like neither one uses a tight end a lot. Like they're both similar passing concepts. So it's just great that those schemes like come together with Walker Eget having more time, more experience under his belt in this system and not having to play those teams. I'd say the hardest test would have been Hawaii if they were going to the island, but they're not going to the island. So I think the hardest test is probably the Fresno State game, the rivalry game. Like I really think that the loser of Boise State UNLV will be boxed out of the conference championship game, and it will end up being San Jose State versus whoever else in the conference championship game. So I think people might be surprised, but they probably haven't looked at San Jose State's schedule and don't see the team's upside. So I'm really excited about the San Jose State hype train this year. Hopefully, I don't jinx it, but it's just great to see them after like the trouble that they've had as a program, where it's like they could have just as much been viewed as in this whole Mountain West Pac-12 saga as a bottom feeder, but they're a respectable program, at least in football. Basketball has a ways to go, but in football, like I mean, this is a program that's serious now, and they're in good position.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was exactly what I was thinking too. Like their schedule sets up so well for them and avoiding those top teams. And I mean, you mentioned Fresno State as a tough challenge. You mentioned Hawaii could be, but those games are at home. Air Force, who we'll get to talk about later, that one's at home as well. So you look at the road games, and maybe the toughest one could be Wyoming and Laramie, just because weird things happen to Laramie. Utah State, a back-to-back road game 6 days later may prove to be a tough one as well. And you never know what to expect with Bronco Mendenhall. Again, we'll touch on them later. But in general, though, this clears a very nice path for the Spartans to make the Mountain West Championship. And yeah, like you said, like box out the Boise State UNLV loser because they don't play either one of those teams. And I think we'll kind of get to see, I feel like we're going to see those concepts kind of merge together a little bit. Like, you got another year of development on the offensive line. You have good running backs like Floyd Chalk and you saw the big bowl. We had a big bowl performance from Lamar Radcliffe, who was a decorated recruit. Like, and they even got more beyond them. Like, they have a really good group of running backs to utilize as well to take the pressure off the pass game. So this is really going to be a fun offense overall.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting too, which I think San Jose State making the conference championship game might be the AAC, or sorry, might be the I'm still in American Conference mode after our recording, but it might be the Mountain West worst nightmare, just like Colorado State was last year, because there was a scenario where, which I didn't hope for as an Army fan, there was a scenario where Colorado State would have won the Mountain West and sent the American Conference champion to the playoff. So I mean, of course, like my love of bowl games, want Army to play in a bowl game. But I mean, I think a lot of people. I think a Navy is going to be a big San Jose State fan this year, especially if Boise State beats Notre Dame. I think Navy will be big San Jose State fans, or in fact, San Jose State might even be good enough to take the playoff spot if the American has a few slip ups. Like I mean, like Memphis has a couple power conference teams, like we talked about in the American podcast. I mean, they could fall down in the rankings. Tulane has also a couple of power conference. Or sorry, Memphis has Arkansas, while Tulane has a couple of power conference teams. So, a one or two loss, I think they'd be hard pressed putting a two loss Memphis or a two loss Tulane over a 12-1 San Jose State team with the win over Boise State in the playoffs. So this San Jose State is probably one of the most fascinating teams in the group of five, because it's like they're not a group of five blue blood that you would expect to be in the playoff. Um, and they could really be a team that that makes the playoff, and it's really a great story in general. Like I don't care if they win the playoff, but just them getting there after the way the program was in the mid 2010s, like it's amazing.
Yeah, seeing that logo pop up on the screen would just be absolutely incredible. And really, the one tough game on there, and that's why you said the one loss is against Texas. Like, obviously, that game will go a long way as well. Like, if they're respectable in that game, and they manage to hang around for a little bit, I think that keeps them in the race a little bit, especially over that two-loss team. So yeah, I'm very excited for San Jose State this year. Like this, you can feel the buzz around the program. Like this is the best buzz we've seen for them in a long time, and it's just really exciting to see that for them. I guess we can go to. I mean, do you see any bust risk with any of these teams?
I'd say maybe UNLV with Dan Mullen in and without the go-go offense with Brennan Marion taking it to Sacramento State. I think Mullen had an amazing haul with the transfer portal. I mean Anthony Colandria, and then Alex Orji is fascinating to me because I look at Orji and I can see Mullen using him like Tim Tebow, like same type of player, great runner. So I like it, but I just think that there's just so much like changing, so much wheels turning with this team that I mean I'm not sure if they can beat Boise State, um, and I mean maybe even Colorado State looks like a game for I guess a game where they can be upset, or even Air Force too. Air Force at home. So I'm just not sure about UNLV. I think UNLV has the biggest bust potential because of the turnout, even though Mullen's transfer portal haul was really good.
Yeah, there's a ton of talent. That much is definitely undeniable. But at the same time, like you face a lot of risk when you have essentially built you're building like almost this whole team out of the portal. Like almost all of the key players are coming from there. Like there is Thomas at running back. He's a good returner. That's back on the roster. So that's one person who is homegrown, but definitely a lot of good talent, but overall just and you could see where things could go wrong if these guys aren't ready to go. Like you kind of got lucky with a little bit of a that tune up against Idaho State. I think Idaho State will be better at the FCS level, but they proved to be a tune up here. But you still have Sam Houston and Miami on the road. Like those are teams that are good enough. You can't take them for granted. UCLA at home, like I would like to see UNLV win that one, but that's still going to be a tough test. And then you even open conference play, like those opening three games at Wyoming again in Laramie. You never know what can happen to Laramie. Air Force at home, and then at Boise State. It's a very very critical stretch. Now, if you get through that one with only the loss to Boise State, then we're looking pretty good. But that's a lot of tests early on for the Rebels. Um, but overall, I definitely do like the team. I think Colandria is going to be a lot of fun. I think Mullen might even be a better coach for him and a better system. So that'll be a lot of fun. And, I'm excited to see Elias Rudolph get his chance. My wife was in the high school setting and actually worked very closely with him. He's a kid who's been through a lot. Comes over from the Miami Hurricanes. He's someone who's going to get an opportunity here, and I'm excited to see him play when they come to Oxford to face the Miami Redhawks later this year.
Yeah, I forgot that was happening. I don't know why they. I know you're from Southern Ohio. Like, what's with the whole Ox Vegas thing? That confuses me.
It's confusing to everyone. Okay, so like really like the Ox Vegas, like I guess it's just because they have like a bar scene and stuff and it's in Ohio. I honestly like it confuses me too, but I found it funny and I had to run with it. There is a place there though that was formed by Miami students called Ox Vegas Chicken. Um, pretty solid chicken, obviously, like and very smart business move having it next to the bars and open late. So it seems to be doing well. Other than that, I really don't know what to tell you about Ox Vegas. You just got to go there and find out why people do it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I thought it was just very, very gimmicky, very strange. I mean, it's gonna be a good game, but I just found the whole thing strange.
Yeah. Oh yeah, everyone does. I had to poke fun at it for sure. um, but yeah, that gets us to Boise State now, who is seemingly the most ironclad of these teams, I would say. I think a lot of people had them pegged as perhaps the biggest group of five favorites to return in the college football playoff after last year's breakthrough. Um, I think we know a lot of the strengths. Is there anything you see that could potentially derail their playoff hopes?
Um, I don't really at the moment. I think maybe the passing game. I do think Maddox Madsen is gonna improve because we saw when Penn State loaded the box, and I won't say shut down Ashton Genty because he still had a really good game against Penn State. Had I think
He
had
still runs for 100 yards.
exactly like I mean not bad by any stretch, but when Maddox Madsen has to win the game, we'll see like how he responds really. And I mean he did have really quality games, and I think the run game is going to still be great. They still return a lot of experience on the line. There's a lot of continuity with Boise State too, and also Spencer Danielson's a hard coach to root against just because of his faith. Honestly, like
Yeah.
I find myself hard pressed rooting against Boise State. I mean, Pac-12 fans can be arrogant, you know, and Boise State fans are guilty of that at times. But it's just hard to root against Spencer Danielson because he's a great man of God. I really like him. I will say though, I'm intrigued by the Air Force game on September 20th, and I'm not saying that Air Force is gonna upset Boise State, but I think it's very similar. It reminds me a bit of the 2014 game when Boise State had trouble. Well, when Boise State lost to Air Force, where it's like I know that Boise State will have a bye week, which was very wise of them. I don't know if they asked the conference schedule makers to throw them a bone there and give them Air Force before or after a bye week, but I mean Air Force like they're a team that I mean they have the formula. Of course, being a triple option team, they have the formula to beat teams like Boise State. I mean, of course they get the bye week, but I mean that one fascinates me. I do think that that might be the only weakness because they didn't play. This is a Boise State team that hasn't played Air Force since 2023, and even that 2023 game, the quarterback situation for the Falcons was horrid. I mean, I think they were down to their third or fourth guy in that game, and they still almost beat Boise State. So, yeah, like I don't really see many weaknesses with this team, but that Air Force game is something to watch out for.
Yeah, you took the words from my mouth there. That one was going to be one I was going to point out if you didn't, because that is a dangerous game. And like you said, Air Force has traditionally given Boise State a tough time, especially in Colorado Springs. That place has been not a fun place for Boise State to go. So it was very clever to have it a bye week. I don't know if I'm making this up, but I feel like they originally had Eastern Washington for September 13th, and then they pushed it up a week. But I might be making it up. I'm not sure.
I am.
If they pushed it up, like they pushed it up, like maybe earlier this offseason or even like last year or something. But I mean, yeah, they got lucky there, but we'll see. That one's kind of interesting. And of course, you got a pretty cool non-conference schedule here. Like obviously, the team that plays on the red turf comes to the blue turf. You have the road game at USF. Like those are two of the group of five's biggest brands facing off. Boise State heading down to Florida, kind of kicking us off on that opening weekend. It's going to be a really cool game. Appalachian State is also a really cool game. Again, two of the group of five's biggest brands facing off. Um, that game is very underrated too. I've not gotten to week 5 of my series yet, which I'm gonna have to start to speed race this a little bit because we're getting late here. But that one's another really cool non-conference game that hasn't been talked about enough yet. Obviously, Notre Dame's gonna be the big one. You look at the conference schedule, though, there's not really a whole lot that sticks out to me that can really derail them. Like, there's the only one that really, I don't even know if it scares me, but you have two short week Friday games on the road. You have at Nevada and at Utah State, so maybe those are points to watch. I mean, you can't laugh at the Nevada one too much. Nevada did stay within the score of them last year on the blue turf, so those are maybe other points that they could trip up. But in general, though, I mean, we're looking at a team that has the best offensive line in the Mountain West. Last year they played great until injuries kind of hit late in the year, but those guys are back healthy. And now, because of the injuries, they now have other guys that got experience and likewise have depth at the position as well, experience depth. And that running back room is still going to be dynamic. I mean, Sire Gaines is going to be a guy to watch out for to have a big year. And the defense is going to be pretty good too. Like, they're gonna be good at getting after quarterbacks again. The secondary kind of faced a lot of trial by fire last year. Those guys kind of struggled a little bit, but now with experience there, I think they could potentially step up in that spot. So Boise State's definitely the team to watch out of this conference.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can't count Boise State out really, and I think it's interesting too, like the whole Notre Dame thing. I know we talked about Navy, where it's like it almost becomes a thing where it's like who has a better performance against Notre Dame, where it might come down to that for the college football playoff. But I think it's great too how Boise State, like you said, Sire Gaines. I don't think he's gonna have any issue because I think Boise State is a place that doesn't have any issues recruiting running backs because of the running backs that they've had in the past, like not just Ashton Denty, but Jay Ajayi, Doug Martin, even all the way back to Ian Johnson. Like this is honestly like it's running back you in a way. Like if Wisconsin didn't exist, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really cool game that they got on the calendar too. Like, definitely a huge shout out to Notre Dame. Like Notre Dame scheduling potentially two of the toughest group of five games. I don't think they get enough credit for that. That is actually challenging games that they're taking a risk on, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Like this is actually like a big deal. Like it's on NBC. Notre Dame, that's Notre Dame's green game, which I feel like they reserve that for a pretty big game on the slate usually. So like I think it's pretty cool that Boise State's getting that treatment, and that's gonna be an awesome game. It was actually one that I had my eyes on until schedules worked out differently. Um, yeah, that's gonna be a pretty awesome game to watch. But I think that gets us to sorry, one last thought.
No, no, I was just agreeing with you honestly. Like I think it's interesting too, especially how I guess how Notre Dame made that the green game, especially with everything happening with USC. But I don't want to with the USC series. I don't want to I guess go too deep into that because we can go on and on about the Notre Dame USC
Hey, we
series.
could have a whole
Series
episode on
right
that
now.
one. But we'll go to the next tier here, which is kind of like the don't count them out tier. Like this is a group of teams that could manage to factor in the race or even maybe make their way into the conference championship. If you had to pick one of these teams right now to make that run into the Mountain West Championship, who would you pick?
I would say Fresno State. I think Matt Entz is the North Dakota State effect will be there. I also like to. I also think the North Dakota State system is a very hard system to stop nowadays because just no one runs it. No one just runs down your throat anymore. And looking at their depth chart, they have two tight. They're running two tight end sets, and they have an experienced quarterback. EJ Warner could have the best year of his career in the Mountain West with good weapons at its disposal and also too with a good offensive line. I just think that there's a lot of moving pieces too, like only five returning offensive starters. Excuse me, and only four on defense. And Fresno State over the past couple years has had a tendency to start strong and then kind of tail off at the end. I mean, the past couple years they've had some bad losses in conference play, so that's my only reservation about that. But I mean, I think if you come from a coach, like I think it's kind of like the Lance Leipold effect, where it's like someone that has insane winning ability, like insane or just really really insane winning percentage. Like they have a formula, and it'll probably work at any level if it's someone that can win at just obscene levels. So I think the same thing applies to Ents there. So I have to say Fresno State would be my sleeper pick.
Yeah, yeah, that was one that I had my eyes on as well because like you said, Matt Entz knows how to win. I thought it was kind of interesting that like he randomly went to USC's like linebackers job and like how perfectly that worked out because he got to some inroads in California recruiting before taking the Fresno State job. I don't know if that could have been intentional or not, but because at that point, like we already knew that Tedford was going to step down due to the health concerns. So, and that's kind of one thing that plays into it too. Like Fresno State, there's two things about them last year. They had a lot. They obviously had the interim coach situation and had a lot of games where they snatched defeat out of victory. And that's kind of twofold because the reason why they did it was because they either weren't willing to or could not run the ball. I'm more inclined to say they weren't willing to because from what I've seen, like Donaldson looks like he's a pretty good running back. and I expect this staff to use him really heavily. So you add that in there, like if they were more willing to run the ball, and they'll do that this year. Like they could have won a lot more games last year. Like they were in most of the games. Like they were even like playing Michigan. Like they were trying to get within a score of that game, and then a pick six turned that whole thing around. Like this is a team that can play with people. And on the defensive side, Alzillian Hamilton is the best corner, potentially the best corner in the Mountain West. So he's going to be a guy that's really going to help on the defensive side. Finn Finn Claypool is a very intriguing transfer out of Drake. I'm very excited to see what he does. And we've seen Corey Foreman, a former highly decorated recruit, kind of find his role here. He hasn't been quite as explosive as people thought he was going to be coming out of high school, but he's found a role here and he's comfortable and doing a good job. So it'll be a very interesting team. But yeah, I agree. That's one I've been looking at. I guess another one I like here is Air Force. We saw them really struggle last year, and then the month of November after the Army game, which is kind of ironic because in 2023 the Army game is where the wheels fell off from that A&O Air Force team. Then last year they lost to Army again, and then all of a sudden, last stretch they returned to being Air Force again. Like they looked exactly the way they were during the 8-0 season. So we that was kind of partially because they finally figured out the quarterback situation. And of course, late this offseason, quarterback situation gets unfigured out. So there's my one reservation about them. But overall, like I think they have a lot of experience back, and I think this is a team that we can start to see. We're going to see them return back to the normal level. Like Troy Calhoun does not have two bad seasons in a row almost ever.
Yeah, I think so, and I would have had Air Force as a team to watch if not for the Quentin Hayes transfer. Which good news for the Citadel though. That's pretty exciting, honestly.
Yeah,
I like seeing the Citadel do good, and as well as VMI. I see. I do agree with that. I just think, I think that Air Force though, with Josh Johnson though, we'll see though. We'll see. I think that the pieces are there, like you said, because every as far as I've seen in my life as an Army fan and just watching academy football, like every academy needs a good fullback where it starts. Like you can have a good running you can have a good runner at quarterback, but if you don't have the fullback play there, the person that can get a couple yards right off the gate, get a few yards, keep you ahead of schedule, it's not really going to work. So I'm not as concerned with Josh Johnson in the same way we're not as concerned with Dwayne Coleman at Army because the fullback plays there. Dylan Carson was really great too. And like you said, plenty of people returning from the skill positions. The defense had some lights out performances towards the end of the year. A lot of guys got experience and they returned five starters on that defense. I just don't know if, like you said though, like I don't know if they can beat San Jose State on the road. They do. I mean, I don't know if they can beat the Boise State game. We talked about that one. That one's going to be interesting for sure. But I just think it's also too early. It's I guess it works against Boise State because it's early in the season. You know, you have to prepare for the option, but also works against Air Force with a quarterback situation. Had Quentin Hayes been starting this one, I'd have a better outlook on this one. Even though Josh Johnson, I don't think he's going to have any issue. I just don't think he was as talented as a runner as Quentin Hayes was. So, but I think Air Force will be going back to a bowl, to be honest with you. And a sneaky good game is Connecticut on November 15th. I don't think people are really, circling their counters on that one where UConn's got to prepare for the option. This is probably a UConn team that has two losses, maybe three losses at that point, and Air Force can make some noise and pull an upset there. So I'm excited for the Falcons this year. It's just the Hayes issue causes so much question marks this late in the offseason.
yeah, exactly. And it was very, very, very surprising, like how that kind of just came out of nowhere. We had just gone through our series of like teams that we were kind of on the bandwagon for the rest of the off season. And my team, one of our teams is Air Force, and then we were hyping up them having Quinn Hayes back, and then also next thing you know, he's gone. So let's look at Colorado State now. We this is kind of a it was kind of an odd year last year because entering the year, it felt like their passing offense was just going to be so dynamic and a lot of fun. And then just immediately that was not the case. But Then they go up against a little bit of an easier schedule. They get some momentum. And we end up seeing the Colorado State breakthrough after all, finally, seeing the Rams return to a bowl game and win 8 games overall. So now looking at this year, like they're not going to be able to run the ball as much with the running back on. But how are you thinking about the Rams? Like, what do you think they can do?
So I think they can get back to a bowl game. I know not just at the running back position, but losing Torrey Horton, they seem to make it work, and I think that was a correlation between Braden Fowler Nicolosi just not having as great a year as we know he can. So he switched to more of a managerial type role. Um, but Fowler Nicolosi's leadership on offense will go a long way for them. It's just tough because there is a lot of moving pieces, but they did get some good transfers on defense. They got some really good defensive transfers, and not just. I feel like there's two types of transfers in the transfer portal that people kind of bank on when looking at teams. Gathering information from the Phil Steele, like you have teams that have guys that have potential because of being highly recruited, highly touted, going to Power Four programs, and you have um, battle tested transfers. Colorado State has a few battle tested transfers, especially on defense. They only returned 2 starters, but I mean they have Jacob Ellis at linebacker who actually started 6 games and had 41 tackles for Iowa State, and on defense. Nicolosi is a great quarterback. I'm excited to see where he lands in the draft process. I see them having a respectable year, and in a way, I feel like they kind of got exposed in the bowl game. I don't have a list of opt outs, but man, losing by 26 to Miami, a Miami team that got with the stronger programs or the perceived stronger programs in the Mountain West.
Yeah, yeah. I think we'll see them still play really well. Like I think we could see Nicolosi take a step forward a little bit. I saw he went to the Manning Passing Academy. I know he had to work on his footwork a little bit. That'll kind of help him in the passing game a little bit. And obviously, I think a lot of these receivers kind of had to grow up a year earlier than expected with Horton missing most of the year. Uh, and like generally, like Jay Norvell, he is a more of a defensive guy, offensive guy, but like he seems to do a pretty good job making sure like his team has a good defense. So usually they're going to be pretty good there. So yeah, this Rams team is one that I like to also like in the similar. You said a lot of what I was thinking there. Like just another team that could be pretty solid bowl team. Not sure if they're going to be ready to like break through into like winning the conference championship or anything like that this year.
Yeah, but it was a good storyline last year. Them almost winning or going to the conference championship and really causing chaos in the playoff.
I know they were a game away. It was like that the weekend before Thanksgiving against Fresno State though, just took it all down.
Yeah, it was truly a shame.
That was like the one time that Fresno State closed out a close game too.
Yeah.
But that gets us to our next tier. This is our largest one. We saw a lot of teams have a lot of change here in the last 2 years, just a lot of different coaching changes and everything. And we saw a lot of these teams go through a reset last year. Uh, that at least describes the profile of most of these teams. Um, but all of them are hoping for a bowl bid. If they make a bowl, it is a good year for them. Especially for some, like there's some teams that making a bowl would be a huge celebration for all of us. Which one do you look at first as like a team that could really step out and have a good year?
I mean, we talked about it before, and we're both wearing Hawaii gear. But man, something feels different with Hawaii this year. I mean, there's a different type of energy with the program. All the existential stuff aside, with the stadium and everything, like this is a team that I think a lot of people are excited for. And just looking at the roster, I can sense a lot of buy-in. And I think a lot of people will look at the transfer portal, but as we talked about with the AAC preview, like continuity in the transfer portal era is something that you can't really you can't really replicate, you can't really imitate. And they have so many returning guys, so many guys with experience. They have 9 starters on defense returning. On offense, there's a bit of turnover at the skill positions, but they still have their 2 main guys in Pofeli Ashlock and Nick Sinakel. And of course, Micah Alejado, like people are thinking he's the real deal. Like he looked amazing in the last game against New Mexico, a New Mexico team that should have made a bowl if they would have won that one. But I mean, it feels different, and I think people are starting to notice too because the betting line is shifted in the Stanford game, which I don't know if it's due to Stanford's internal problems than it is for just people buying into the Hawaii hype. But I mean, I'm excited about this team, and it seems like I won't say that the Hawaii administration has bought into Timmy Chang because Hawaii's administration has done some pretty self-sabotaging things in recent months, which there's plenty of press about. But at the very least, they did the bare minimum and gave Timmy Chang a chance because Timmy Chang is what the Hawaii program needs is someone to get behind, someone that relates to the island, someone that um, it's easy just to get people excited in the program again. And for the first time since the Rolovich era, we, I really feel like people are excited about this program, and not just people on the island, but on the mainland. Like people are, I've seen more Colt Brennan retrospectives on Instagram Reels and on X than in recent months than I've seen in the past couple years. Like people want Hawaii to do well, and they have the tools. Like I mean, dare I say, Sinakal and Ashlock remind me of Devon Bess and Ryan Grice Mullen. Hopefully, I don't jinx the Warriors this year, but it's that exciting, honestly. I mean, and the conference schedule too, it's favorable. They don't have Boise State. Of course, you got the UNLV game, the Ninth Island Showdown. Of course, glad that rivalry gets to stay. I mean, because it just means so much to the people of Hawaii and Las Vegas. But I mean, really, the only tests are Air Force, of course, and UNLV. I think. I mean, this is a team that I think will be back in the Hawaii Bowl, and it also helps them too that they don't play a 13th game. It doesn't help them in the pocketbook, but it helps them for making a bowl because there isn't really the chance to lose 7 games if you win six.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I agree completely. Like, there's been so much excitement for this team this offseason. Like, yeah, like you said, like I've seen so many Colt Brennan stuff all over the place this offseason. It just has me so excited for Hawaii football. Not even just Colt Brennan. Like there's been a lot of talk about Timmy Chang as well, which is something that I try to feed out there a little bit too, because I remember growing up with him slinging the rock all over the place. And again, like it is a unique job, and you need someone that understands that culture out there. Um, so like, I always grew up wondering like why Hawaii didn't recruit better because like it's like, oh, you're recruiting the paradise. Now, there are some challenges. I learned that when going on the honeymoon flight out there. Because you are you are on an airplane a long time for half the year. So that is kind of where their challenge is. But um yeah, this is just and the defensive side of the ball, like they took strides in that direction last year of improving on that side of the ball. And even this year, I think they're ready to take another step forward. And that's going to be another thing that really, because I think their defense improvement kind of got lost last year because the offense just kind of, it didn't quite click as we expected. Ashlock got spent a lot of the year battling injuries and stuff and everything like that, which didn't help. But yeah, I think we're ready to see their defense step up. And this team, man, this team's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. The Hawaii test is alive and well this year.
It really will be.
So kind of. By the way, the other thing, we learned with New Mexico, and then the year before, I I can't remember which team it was. You don't want your bull hopes to go. Oh, Colorado State. It was Colorado State the year before. You don't want your bull hopes to go on, to the island there the last week of the year. Which I look at the schedule here. Oh no, Wyoming. You better get that 6 win before you head to the island, guys.
Wow, it's amazing they get that Hawaii. I mean, like you said, they've gotten a home game for the past 3 years on Thanksgiving weekend. I don't know if that's a special request that they make to the Mountain West League office, but I find that interesting. I didn't realize that until you mentioned it. Like, wow, I have nothing to say, but just wow. I guess maybe the league's fine with it because their fans get to spend Thanksgiving in Hawaii, get to spend a holiday in Hawaii. So I guess they asked for it, but that is definitely a quirk I overlooked.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. I love that. And of course, it brings back the old memories of like back when, bigger programs used to just do stuff just because it's fun. Like you would see teams like Wisconsin or Alabama just go and play at Hawaii in the regular season just because it was fun. Like,
Exactly.
man, that brings me back. I miss those days so much. Like, oh, that was so cool. I remember being young and watching Hawaii beat Alabama on the island. Like that is a game that's like not even thinkable nowadays.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that because in most years, like Hawaii hardly had to give a game back, a road game back to those schools. I know the Alabama series was a 2-for-1, and Hawaii didn't repay that. Didn't go to Brian Denny until '05. And then I think the Wisconsin one, like you mentioned, I don't remember Hawaii paying that because I think I think Wisconsin made two trips to Hawaii, and I don't think Hawaii even paid back that trip for a few years, and it might have even been a separate agreement with Wisconsin, a separate game contract. So, I mean, it's just sad to think about too because what comes to mind is the Oregon game, which I know Dylan Gabriel was like looking forward to last year, but Oregon canceled it on less than a year's notice, and it's just that thing where it's like we're already traveling across the country. It's just conference realignment too, right? Like
Yeah.
we're already traveling across the country, so what reward do we have to spend even more money traveling to Hawaii?
Yeah, absolutely. And okay, so I actually did the research here. They have played each other 7 times. Five of the seven matchups between Hawaii and Wisconsin have occurred at Hawaii.
Wow, that's
That's
unbelievable. Like,
that's unheard of. That is
that's
absolutely incredible.
I mean, you won't ever see that again, too. And I think it's the same thing with like USC. I think USC. I can only remember Hawaii going to the Coliseum maybe once or twice in my lifetime, but otherwise it's always been like Hawaii, USC going to Hawaii. But you'll never see that again because USC is just making too much money in the Big Ten for it to be beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got this one pulled up now. They've played 9 times. 6 of the 9 times have been at Hawaii. And the most recent matchup in 2013 was at Hawaii.
I remember that one. I know Hawaii stuck around for a little bit too. And I remember too like
That was supposed to be like the Lane Kiffin team that was going to take off, and then like Hawaii just like hung around stubbornly all game.
yeah, exactly. Pretty much in 2013, I think that was the last Norm Chow year with Taylor Graham, or no, Sean Schroeder. Sean Schroeder having an insane.
Oh man,
Yeah, people forgot about Sean Schroeder.
we might have a nostalgia episode just about Hawaii football.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I guess we'll move to. Oh, what is another team maybe on the list that might stick out to you as one that you think maybe could bust through and make a bowl game?
I think San Diego State actually, because they have a lot of talent returning on defense. Looks like 10 guys with starting experience, according to Phil Steele. The only question is with quarterback is Danny O'Neill's gone, but the Sean Lewis system is amazing. But it's just a quarterback question. It's hard. They ask their quarterbacks to do a lot, unlike other San Diego State teams. I will say, I kind of want to see Burt Emanuel Jr. get more of a look, and I just wish he transferred to Rice. I feel like that would have been the best move for him because he wasn't really used as a passer at Central Michigan. Rice is his dad's alma mater, but I think Burt Emanuel Jr. can do really good in Sean Lewis's system, but he's not listed as a starter according to Phil Steele. But I mean, San Diego State has what it takes on defense, and what I noticed is they have a bunch of games that can go either way. Like, I mean, Northern Illinois I can see go either way. Nevada either way. Fresno State even I want to say because Fresno State is very much I think they're on a wide range as to how their season can end up. They have Wyoming and Hawaii and then New Mexico too. Um, I can definitely see San Jose State maybe squeaking out a 6-6 season, but it's just the quarterback's the biggest question mark in Sean Lewis's system.
Yeah, and I'm very curious to see what the approach ends up being just with that position because Emmanuel Jr.'s competition is Denegal, and he is more of a pocket passer with a bigger arm. So when you have two unique quarterbacks like that, do you attempt to use both? Like, I don't know what we're going to see there, but yeah, we didn't see the quarterback position succeed as we usually do for a Sean Lewis offense last year. And it was kind of surprising to see, but of course they were trying to recover a lot from, what happened to the offense there at the end of the Brady Hoke era. And yeah, that kind of dropped them off a little bit. But now you're starting to see them get some more of their guys in. Like obviously Sean Lewis is always going to have a good stable of backs. And then the wide receivers revamping that position this offseason is really going to help. I mean, Trey White on the defense, he's a really good defensive end. He's one of the best defensive ends in the country. And so it's really awesome that he came back to San Diego State, stayed home, and I don't know if that means his physical home, but at least like his home college, the program that recruited him, and is going to continue to do good things there. But I mean, Bert Emanuel Jr. would be a really fun fit in this offense. Like you remember what like Sean Lewis did with Dustin Crum. Like I could see a lot of that similarity. It would be a good chance for him too, because like I mean he got some chances at Central Michigan, but the last 2 years is just like I mean you'll see that one down the line when the MAC one comes out. But like the last couple of years is just such a mess with them, like with just turnovers and just sloppy play. And I mean I've even heard people tell me that the offensive linemen weren't even lining up correctly. Like it was just something else that was going on there. So like he never really has gotten this true opportunity, and this team could be his chance.
I mean, even then, what if Bert Emanuel just stayed at Central Michigan with a power spread that they're running? It's just weird. I'm
Yeah.
not here to make decisions for Bert Emanuel Jr., but I mean, like you said, the approach with Denegal too. Like, I mean, the two quarterback approach would be easily warranted too. Maybe that's what Emmanuel. Maybe that's how Sean Lewis framed it when he was recruiting Emmanuel Jr. over to San Diego State, where it's like, hey, like you can, you'll get plenty of reps at quarterback, just running the ball and everything. So I'm excited too. I think Bernie Manuel Jr. is one of the biggest wild cards of the season in the Group of Five.
Yeah, absolutely. That one's going to be a very interesting storyline to watch develop. I'll bring up one for us here, New Mexico. I feel like a lot of people, including myself, actually, like started to write them off early this offseason. It really stunk to watch, like the absolute talent drain from the transfer portal, and then of course, like the one job that Bronco Mendenhall would have left the program for, ended up offering him, and he leaves for Utah State. So that was all like a tough pill to swallow. But then here comes Jason Eck, and this he is such an awesome coach, and he is very used to navigating the transfer portal. Bringing in guys from there, having to replace other guys, and he brought in a lot of fun transfers. Like their running back room is, I mean, you could see more in like the state of the program series, but like so that we don't take too much time. But their running back room is insanely deep. It goes four deep. They have a variety of good backs who could do all sorts of things. And I really like some of the pieces they added on defense. This is not going to be last year's New Mexico defense where everyone had a career day against them. This defense has some guys that can play this year. So this is a team I'm really looking at, and maybe we can see that breakthrough. Maybe we can see them hit that 6 wins and reach a bowl.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the portal era, Justin. That like it's just so interesting. Where it's like, everyone can leave in droves, but you can have an influx of players just like that. Where it seems like, you know, It seems like Jason Eck just brought honestly the Big Sky All Stars with him. Two all first team guys on defense in Jackson Eck and Keyshawn James Newby on defense, and then of course Scott Trey Humphrey, at running back. Where it's like, man, like it's just hard to compare scheme wise how because of course obviously like Humphrey would have fit in Bronco Mendenhall's system, but it's kind of interesting to see how Humphrey will fit in X system. I don't know if it's apples to apples comparison saying that because this is their third different offensive system in 3 years, but it just seems like no matter what, like under Danny Gonzalez, you had Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt make honorable mention All American in 2023. Okay, well with Bronco Mendenhall, you got Devin Dampier and Eli Sanders running the ball very well, and then now you have Scotty Humphrey, and like you said, the other backs, that followed him to New Mexico. I'm very fascinated, and it's like I honestly, like you said, like I can't really predict New Mexico. It's very hard. They don't really have the excuse me. They don't really have the swing. I guess swing games that San Diego State has. Like they don't avoid UNLV. They don't avoid San Jose State. They don't avoid Boise State. It seems like, and they don't avoid Air Force, which of course is always a tough out. So I really don't have a prediction for New Mexico this year. Like New Mexico's a team like it can go anywhere from 2-10, 1-11 to maybe 6-6 and 7-5. Like who knows at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a very fun team to watch, though. Like, and I really like what they're doing in terms of like rallying the community around them because, it felt like New Mexico football kind of was a little bit lost in Albuquerque for a little bit, but now, you got the promotion to bring kids in free and everything like that. Like, I think, and I noticed today, like, they're doing like low price concessions and stuff. Like, they're doing stuff to really get people in the area in the stands and like rally around this team.
After I move, after I graduate high school, they have to do that. After I move from New Mexico, they have to do that. What a shame, you know. I mean, what about the people like us that almost froze our toes off watching Danny Gonzalez kick a field goal from the 2 yard line in single overtime against Utah State? What about me and my brother and mom who couldn't feel our toes? You know, where's my cheap concessions? But all jokes aside, like it's interesting too because I can understand why they hired a guy like Gonzalez, honestly, and he might have been right person, wrong time because just living there, living in Albuquerque, we love our local products, right? Diego Pavia, from its time in New Mexico State, like that man could have ran for mayor of Las Cruces, and in New Mexico, we love our local products, right? We love guys that hop from local teams from local high schools to New Mexico. It's just hard getting that buy into. But I mean, I think Eck is taking the right steps too because I think he sees University Stadium and like I see that stadium like there's no reason for this stadium to almost have 40,000 seats. It's not a dig any Mexico, but it's like I think he sees that and he's like, you know what? I think this is a good way to we can take the loss and with the concessions too. Like I mean, I just think the buy-in is there. Like while he's not a local guy, I do think that he has the right formula too. I just hope it pays off because man, like, um, when it's miserable, when it rains, it pours. I guess in New Mexico,
Yeah,
that's all I have to say about that.
yeah, absolutely. When a program's down there, it takes a long time to bring it back up. Um, I guess where we could transition next, we mentioned Utah State a couple times. Bronco Mendenhall heads back to Utah. This is a very fascinating team to me.
Yeah, I know better than to write off Bronco Mendenhall because I wrote him off last year coaching New Mexico and they almost made a bowl. I'm like, man, Bronco Mendenhall, like this, like he's just gonna wash out. Like it's gonna be like the Davy year. So it's like, oh, cool, Bob Davies coaching New Mexico, like take him to a couple bowl games down the road. But I know better than write off Bronco Mendenhall. There's just a lot of turnover on offense. Bryson Barnes is an interesting prospect, but there's just so much change. But I mean, I guess if they're taking the talent that succeeded, I don't see why he can't take Utah State to a bowl game, honestly. So like this is I think Utah State and New Mexico are two of the hardest teams to predict, honestly, like in the Mountain West and probably in the group of five.
Yeah, it's just hard because like you kind of look at you dive into these teams, you can talk yourself into them a little bit, and I mean, yeah, again, Bronco Mendenhall's track record speaks for itself, and I mean, they just found all of these electric playmakers for New Mexico, like seemingly out of nowhere last year. So like you almost wonder if the same thing can happen again. Maybe lightning doesn't strike twice, but still, we're going to see Utah State make a lot of improvements. And again, last year was a tough year. You had the whole situation go down, the situation, and you're running with an interim coach, and things kind of fell apart pretty quickly there. So you enter this year kind of in a better spot. Utah State's definitely one of those teams to kind of look out for a little bit.
Yeah, I really don't know what to say about them, but Bronco Mendenhall is great. I'm glad that he has a job like close to his family with what he's dealing with. Honestly, from a human perspective, it's good to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we can go to Wyoming. So we referenced a few times some teams that had to make that trek to Laramie. Um, last year just did not go as planned. It felt like, okay, we're making an internal hire and taking over for Craig Bull, and everything will just keep churning along like it does, and then that is not what happened here. Things kind of fell apart a little bit. I think replacing a legend can be pretty tough, and they learned that the hard way. Now you've had your reset. It's time to get back to being good. Can Wyoming do that? Can they make their way at least back to a bowl game?
I say maybe not this year, but I think that they're gonna kind of take their time with Jay Saville. Um, I do think that they will improve. Like we saw them beat Washington State last year on the road in the Palouse. I mean, Wyoming is they have a formula that's really easy to win with. I think where they're gonna play tough, hard nosed football under the bowl system. That they're gonna have a gritty quarterback who can run. He won't outrun you, but he'll get a few yards at a time. Guys like Andrew Peasley, Sean Chambers too, even. Um, you have guys like that, and even Josh Allen in Wyoming.
Well, Josh Allen was a guy who would outrun you, but
Yeah,
that was a
yeah,
rare breed.
yeah. He would outrun you, but even then, like he wasn't like a game breaker but that we know of with the Bills. So I think it's gonna take a couple years. Um, but I just think it's just tough with defense because there's just not enough experience on that defense. And when you think like to play a system like what Wyoming plays, you also need to play really good on defense too. Like you got to play pretty good defense to at least give your guys a chance to, play mistake-free football. They only returned three guys with starting experience from, the starting experience last year, so it's tough. It really is. And their schedule though, I mean, um, it's kind of favorable. It is favorable. They don't have Boise State. They don't have UNLV. So maybe they can benefit from that. But I just don't really see it as much this year. I think next year I see Wyoming being a bowl team. I just think it's just too tough with all the pieces that they lose on defense.
So, in other words, you see the Hawaii curse continuing, where their bowl of hopes die on the island after Thanksgiving.
I think
um,
they'll already be dead. I mean, I don't see that. Maybe tag. I think they'll be safe from the curse because I think they'll be rolling in with seven or more losses at that point. Maybe.
yeah, it's gonna be. It's kind of funny because like there's a lot of pieces I like in the office. Like, if Sam Scott is healthy, he's yet another Wyoming running back that's really good. They have some good young receivers who really stepped up late in the year. Um, uh, please don't butcher this. John Michael Gillenborg is one of the most electric tight ends in college football. Like, so they have the pieces there. The defense even somewhat resembles a typical Wyoming defense. You can see where this team can have a good year, but it's definitely going to rely upon that. That's what you need to see. And of course, there's some other things to clean up too. Like we need to see them. There was a little bit uncharacteristic, like some of the penalties and stuff they dealt with last year. Like that's the kind of stuff we don't normally see this team beat themselves. We see them just hang around, and then seal the victory at the last moment, like they did against Washington State at the end of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we wrap up the team by team by looking at the Nevada Wolfpack. Let's kind of look at the source of hope for them because I think a lot of people just had them pegged as last in the conference.
Yeah, I think the source of hope is the non-conference schedule. I can see this team starting 3-1. To be honest with you, I know Western Kentucky is good, but I wouldn't put it past Nevada competing with Western Kentucky. Honestly, Middle Tennessee looks also at the very worst case scenario. I see them going 2-2. I know people are kind of, I guess, a little bit high on Middle Tennessee, at least being a bowl team. I have to check the bowl index again. But people aren't writing Middle Tennessee off, but they do have them at Reno. I just think on offense, I know Chuba Purdy has a ton of experience and hopefully he comes into his own this year. I just think that losing Brendan Lewis was a huge hit, and especially not just Lewis, but the run game was really good last year with Garwo, with Savion Red. They lose both of those guys, and I know that Jeff Choate wants to run the ball. He wants to run the ball. That's his mo. And now more of the onus is going to be on Purdy without those pieces. And there's also so much turnover on defense. But to be optimistic, though, no, that's what you originally asked me. I mean, there's a bunch of swing games with San Diego State, New Mexico, Utah State, Wyoming, um, And then, of course, funny things happen in the Battle of the Fremont Cannon. Like, it's a rivalry game. So, I mean, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they are competing for a bowl game if they're 5-7, 5-6 heading to the final game. They just have such an uphill battle, and to be honest, I mean, I'd say give Jeff Choi one more year. To be honest with you, I hope they give him one more year in this new era. I know that they cut Ken Wilson off. They cut Ken Wilson loose after 2 years, sadly. So, but um, yeah, I mean, I think there is some. I think the schedule is very optimistic for them. I think that's one case for optimism.
Yeah, yeah, I think they will just because um, you know, I think we saw things sink pretty badly, and then while the win column didn't really show it, it was very clear that this team was a lot better last year. I mean, you think about it, like they took SMU and Boise State, two playoff hopefuls, to the wire last year within one score games. They lost a ridiculous amount of one score games. That was kind of the difference between showing progress in the win column and not. Finally, did bring one home against Oregon State. That game was really awesome, though. Um, but yeah, this is Chuba Purdy's big chance. That's gonna be one key. What does he do with it? This is really his chance to be a a starting college quarterback and be a good one. That's his big thing. Nate Burleson Jr., or I think he calls himself the second. Can you believe that? Like, following straight in his father's footsteps, going to Nevada, like he's a guy who could emerge this year. I cannot believe Nate Burleson the second is already in college. Um, I some of the portal guys kind of looked pretty promising to me on defense, and in general, like the defensive side, you need to see them step up on third downs. Why did Nevada fail to close out those games last year and lose all those one score games? Is because they were 135th in the nation in third down defense. Which, of course, I forgot to mention the stat earlier. New Mexico. New Mexico's 136, which is kind of weird. It's like, are all the Mountain West offense is good at third down, or were they just really that bad? I mean, really, the one score losses indicate they were really just that bad on third down. So, figure out how to get off the field in third downs and see these guys, I mentioned before, kind of step up a little bit. Find the run game still. Like, you could still, I trust, this staff has given me already like a lot of trust in like in what they can do of like O line development and stuff. Like, it kind of sucks to lose Isaiah World to Oregon, but and like because future first round offensive lineman potentially just getting developed in Nevada. Like, so you can see where the staff seems to do a pretty good job developing the O line. The run scheme is really good, so it feels like it's a good position for whoever the lead back is to succeed. So that's kind of where you find your sources of optimism. It feels like from my end.
Yeah, the third down stats mind blowing, and I mean, like you said, like with the one score losses, and that's a tough thing in the portal era too, because you could look at a team that had one score losses and think, okay, yeah, this team, couple breaks goes their way. Like this is a team that is wiser, it's older, but you can't really tell that with the portal. That's a tough thing too. Like I mean, you would like to think, okay, this team lost a bunch of one score games, they're bad on third down defense, but what if the brand new haul of guys they got, are have those same tendencies, are just as bad on third down, and are still very young and lose those one score games as well. So just I mean I know I'm probably complaining about how it is to prep in the portal age and like prognosticate, but man, it's just tough.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think this gets us to our conference championship picks. Who do you got winning the? Who do you got making the Mountain West Championship? Who do you have winning?
So I got Boise State versus San Jose State, a rematch of the 2025 or 2020 conference championship game. But I have Boise State winning it, honestly. Even though San Jose State will have home field advantage in all likelihood, or I don't know, maybe the conference will work something out again. Like I forgot what year it was where they had Boise State host the conference championship game. I guess there was a controversial tiebreaker with the computers. I think they went with the BCS computers because that's what would put Boise State as a home team. I think it was 2023. So I do think Boise State will win it. I hope I'm wrong. Nothing against Boise State, but the amount of chaos that it would cause having San Jose State win the conference championship and potentially like not make the playoff, especially if they lose to Stanford and Texas. And then also too, it's just because parity's cool. We've seen a Boise State conference championship before. Like we don't like many times. Like we don't really get San Jose State winning many conference championship games. And in fact, like they've only beat Boise State once before in all the years they've played them. I think they're like one in. I can't even tell you the number, but the series is very lopsided. So um, hopefully that happens. But I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but I think Boise State will take the Mountain West over San Jose State.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny because, it mentioned that 2023, I think it was like a tie between these three teams, Boise State, UNLV, and San Jose State. And here we are considering them the favorites this year. So it's kind of funny how that goes. And maybe these are well, never mind. I mean, UNLV and San Jose State, though, might be some of the top teams in the Mountain West moving forward. But yeah, for mine, just be a little bit different. I'll go Boise State and UNLV in the Mountain West Championship, with Boise State winning the rematch yet again.
Hmm. Man, that's heartbreaking because I mean I would like UNLV to win one of these games at some point. One of these conference championship games against Boise State at some point, but it's just tough. It's just because experience and I wouldn't say culture because I think they both have good cultures around their programs, but experience goes a long way with Boise State and with UNLV. Like, I just think I think UNLV is just so close to getting over the hump and becoming that championship team. But man, like just Boise State's just been there like so many times
Yeah,
before.
it is incredible though, like how much UNLV's football program has really grown here in the last few years. It's definitely been great to see.
Yeah, yeah.
And then do we see, so Boise State, I think we both have them winning. Do we see Boise State make the college football playoff or not? Yes or no?
I think they will, and I think, and again, I hope I'm wrong because that would mean that Navy did not beat Notre Dame because I think it's good for college football when Navy beats Notre Dame. I think it's good for the underdog to win, especially in a rivalry like that where they play every year. It's good for the little guy to win, honestly. Um, but I think Boise State would make the playoff because they would have a better showing against Notre Dame, and I think a better schedule too. I guess per se because I know Navy does not have USF this year. I believe I don't think yeah they don't have USF this year on the
Yeah.
schedule. I think so. I know we just did the podcast, but we've just covered 20, 28, or 26 teams. Navy doesn't have USF on the schedule, and so I think that kind of hurts them in that perception too, where it's like, oh, you didn't play Tulane, um, or Memphis. I just think actually I take that back because Navy has enough challenges. This is early on in the schedule that doesn't have challenge. I think the Notre Dame game, just because of how power conference focused the committee is, will really catch your attention. So I think Boise State would make the playoff by virtue of having a better showing.
Yeah. Well, here's my bold prediction. I think Air Force does their fellow academy a favor. They upset Boise State in Colorado Springs, which opens up the window by the end of the year for Navy to make the college football playoff instead.
Ooh, I wanna agree with that, but that bye week is really what's blocking me from making that prediction because I think you get an extra week to prepare for the triple option. And granted, too, Boise State has an FCS opponent the week before, and Eastern Washington has not been as good as they can be in recent years. I just think if that bye week wasn't there, I'm fully on board with Air Force, sending a parting gift to Boise State. But I think it will be a close game. I really do think it'll be a close game.
Yeah, it was one that was very intriguing to me. And you know what? I mean, just because of past history with Air Force and Boise State, I wouldn't put it past them to pull off the upset, especially there in Colorado Springs.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's crazy too because I know State fans do not like playing Air Force too. I've heard fans say it's like we're glad we are not playing the Air Force game. It's like nothing against them, but it's just more triple option complaining, which
Yeah.
gets so tiring. And it's like cry me a river. Like you had a Heisman runner up the past like last year. Like just cry me a river.
You know, the game that you referenced earlier in the show, when Air Force was down to their fourth string quarterback and nearly beat Boise State, that
Yes.
one was also off a bye week.
Okay. See, and I don't want to say anymore because I know it's been Boise State and everyone else, and I'm interested to see how Boise State. I don't want to talk about the whole conference conflict, but I'm interested to see how Boise State adjusts to being in a conference where they're not the ones being the brokers. They're not the ones brokering the rules. Nothing against Boise State, nothing against Coach Spencer Danielson. Like I said before, I am a huge fan of Spencer Danielson, but like I guess and I guess maybe it's just something I'm over, I'm blowing out of proportion because we talked about Hawaii having home games 3 straight years on the island. So maybe that's just something that the conference generally agrees upon, but I find that I find that suspicious that Boise State has, continually has conference bye weeks, before Air Force, but it is what it is, honestly. I don't want to ruffle any feathers.
Yeah, it's just kind of one of those interesting things where you see a conference. I mean, they are trying. It's a money move. You know, you're trying to favor your top candidate to hopefully get your conference access to the playoff, or in the past those New Year's Six bowls. I think that's where what we can sometimes end up seeing there. But
Yeah.
I guess before we ruffle any more feathers, where can the people find you?
So you can find me on X at Omar Sean Borja. My name. I created that account when I was in high school, and so um, I didn't know any cool name to put other than that. But so Omar Sean Borja on X. You can find me at redshirtsports.xyz. We got a few more riders this football season. Very excited for what they have on the table. Shout out, it's Coach Steve. Shout out, CFP Red Zone. I know he's got something big planned for the season with his Red Zone endeavor. So check him out on
Yeah,
Twitch, YouTube. I'm excited for it. Gonna definitely support him. And he's put in so much work this offseason. So you can find him at Redshirt. Find us at Redshirt Sports at XYZ. And of course, shout out James Singleton, the man running it all, the man who knows so much coding that makes my head spin. So you can find us there, Redshirt Sports. You can also find me at Hustle Belt, writing for UMass and just other topics within the conference. Be dropping my UMass preview soon. Excited for them just being in a conference in general. I know as an A10 supporter, someone who's been to a few more than a few A10 basketball games a few A10 basketball games over the years, I'm gonna miss them being in the A10, but this is a good move for them. You can also find my podcast with Dan, my good friend Jackson Danner, our hardware podcast this season. Hardware Pod is a YouTube channel, and on Spotify, just going over the Heisman Trophy racer most of the season, and also spotlighting HBCU players, hopefully getting them, attention for All Star games and whatnot. And it's just been fun. This will be our fifth anniversary doing this. No patches though, no patches in the works for us, but it's been a fun ride.
very awesome. Definitely make sure you give him a follow. Check him out if you haven't already. Um, Great stuff going on over there. And of course, be sure to find us here on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram, anywhere else that social media is, along with Spotify and wherever else you get your podcasts. Thank you for joining us and have a great week.